strengthened our friends, strengthened our alliances, and countries who were on the fence, it made them realize what Pakistan stands for. And by offering this investigation, Pakistan made a good diplomatic move, which was well received the world over. And I think after that, there was immense diplomatic engagement at the level of the Prime Minister, at the level of the Field Marshal, at the level of the Deputy Prime Minister. And I think that constant engagement really helped us prove our point to the world. So when I say that the world was changing, but Pakistan also changed, we saw an aggressive diplomatic change. Our diplomacy worked very well because we were taking diplomacy very seriously. We were taking relations with all countries very seriously. There was no laxity, and there was no room for any complacency, and we were right on the job. Even with regard to the narrative, I can tell you as the Chief Marketing Officer of Pakistan Incorporated, so to speak, in corporate parlance, that it was my job to put the narrative out there, and I think we did all we could on international media outlets everywhere. We had the strength of the truth. So when we told the story and we told it right, the world heard it and it had an impact. So the right kind of diplomacy, aggressive diplomacy, coupled with the right kind of marketing campaign, with the right kind of information to counter misinformation and disinformation. So we were everywhere, all across. And I must also appreciate the synergy that we had with the DGISPR in putting out the correct information. It wouldn't have been possible without this ideal synergy which we created. So on the narrative front, we were winning, alhamdulillah. On the diplomatic front, we were winning. And when it actually came down to the brass tacks, by the Almighty's blessings, we had already shot down 7 planes. And when we were confronted with brute force, we gave them a bloody nose. And that response, a befitting response, actually proved our military might. So the narrative war was won, the diplomatic war was won, and when it came down to the actual war, Pakistan passed with flying colors. And within 4 hours, India was compelled to request for a ceasefire. So when I say Pakistan is changing, Pakistan actually changed. And I must acknowledge the kind of unity that we displayed as a nation, the resilience of our people. The people of Pakistan came together, forgot our differences. And I remember speaking on the floor, there's no political point scoring. We're all on the same page. And we will fight the enemy together as a unified force. And that's exactly, alhamdulillah, what we did. And I used to say that, we grew up with a certain sense of patriotism. We had heard from our elders how Pakistan was made, and we used to celebrate 14th August by putting up small flags and lighting up candles. But regarding the Gen Z, the jury was still out. And when I say Pakistan has changed, when it came down to the meme war, and the enemy was stunned that our youngsters on social media had actually come up with memes in a very serious situation. And the enemy was wondering what is going on. War is a very serious matter, and they were making memes and they were ridiculing the enemy in their own particular way. So even our Gen Z, our younger generation, they played a role with regard to social media. And they took it upon themselves to fight for Pakistan on that platform, on that battlefield. Because I often say that, the digital world is divided into 2 kinds of people. You have digital natives and digital immigrants. And sometimes the immigrants, they take time to comprehend the ground realities of digital media. But people who are born into the digital age, and they are digital natives, they understand that world much better than most of us do. So I think the digital natives had their own war strategy and had their own way of winning that war. So I think it was total synergy, total cohesion that really helped us. And even now, if you see the way forward, Pakistan has become extremely relevant. When it comes to the situation in Gaza, when it comes to the ceasefire, we are included in the list of Arab Islamic countries who brokered that peace and were part of the negotiations which led to an eventual ceasefire. And I think that's a big win for Pakistan, where the countries of the world have taken us extremely seriously and believe that the things that we have to say, the advice that we have to give is extremely relevant and very, very important. And you've seen that we have had a lot of visits this year. And people often talk about foreign visits and the dignitaries coming to Pakistan. I think the diplomatic engagement in the past year and a half has been at its peak. We hosted the SCO Summit, Heads of Government Summit, after 14 years. We had 12 prime ministers coming to Pakistan, coming to Islamabad, and talking about strategic ties, talking about regional cooperation, talking about counter-terrorism, talking about regional connectivity. So we had all these things going on in succession. And even now, the way the world has engaged Pakistan, we're going to host the SCO Heads of State Summit in 2027, which is going to be a big event, inshallah. And excuse me. And with regard to improvement of ties with other partners in the region, we saw the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement taking place with Saudi Arabia, which was, I think, one of the best things to happen to Pakistan in recent history. And the people have taken great pride in that agreement, where the common man has actually gotten involved. And we were in Riyadh, and we saw the Pakistani flag flying high for almost 25 kilometers constantly. There were Pakistani flags all around, and people of Saudi Arabia celebrated this union with the people of Pakistan. And then in the last visit, the launching of the Economic Cooperation Framework, I think that that launch with regard to revival of Pakistan's economy has really, really cemented our ties with Saudi Arabia. And when it comes to the economic turnaround, I think that is something phenomenal, because our ratings have improved, our macroeconomic indicators have improved, there is stability which the world has acknowledged. The financial institutions the world over are praising Pakistan's performance in terms of the economic turnaround. So, right from default to development. And as I said before, from isolation to relevance. So these two slogans really mean a lot when it comes to the government's performance. That we've taken, alhamdulillah, the economy from default towards development, and we've taken our foreign relations from isolation to relevance. And that is how I will define this journey. And I think the future is very bright. And yes, there is a situation with Afghanistan where we now believe that we now have an additional forum where we can present evidence of their involvement in acts of terrorism. And we've been constantly saying that we have irrefutable evidence that their land is used for acts of terrorism. And whenever an incident takes place, and when you backtrack and go into the investigations, you will find somewhere or the other an Afghan citizen involved somewhere. So this is something which we are dealing with, and we've given a very loud and clear message in that regard. So I think Pakistan's situation right now, in terms of its economy, foreign direct investment, strategic ties, increasing trade and commerce in the region, outside the region, it's been very, very optimistic, and we've had great results so far. And with regard to the foreign policy, we had a landmark visit to Kuala Lumpur just last month, and our strategic ties with Malaysia are growing in terms of trade and in terms of investment. So I think overall, in these changing circumstances, Pakistan has played its cards right. And as you saw right after the attack on Doha, the Pakistani delegation was one of the first delegations to reach Doha and express our solidarity with the Qatari leadership. So I think Pakistan has not only played its cards right, but Pakistan has formulated a policy where we've had a lot of successes diplomatically. And this could not have been possible without the civil and military leadership being on the same page, and without that cohesion and that ideal working relationship that exists between Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Saeed Asim Munir. So I think it's also a result, a fruit of that cohesion and synergy that exists between institutions. And it's the stability at home which has enabled us to advocate our case very, very effectively abroad. And we see that a lot of other countries are desirous of improving their relations with Pakistan. And having said that, I think the way President Donald Trump has more than once praised Pakistan and praised the Prime Minister and the Field Marshal and mentioned those 7 planes time and time again. So, that's a point to ponder upon. And we've had a great visit to the US. Relations have improved immensely. And the recent visit to China. So I think Pakistan's relationship with each country has a unique nature. So one relationship cannot be at the cost of another relationship. And I think that's where the success of our foreign policy lies, and that's how we plan to go into the future, with a very, very robust, with a very, very effective and very practical foreign policy, which will not only give respect to Pakistan, Pakistanis the world over, but which will also help us to take our economy to new heights, so the life of an average Pakistani can also improve. And I see that happening, inshallah ta'ala, in the very near future. I will keep on talking because that's what politicians do. We don't listen, we keep talking. So on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity. And I hope that I could shed light upon all relevant issues related to our recent rise with regard to the May war and the post-war scenario. And I'm always delighted to be here at this forum. And thank you very much for taking up these issues and taking them up at the right time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan Zindabad.